to follow. For letting me know. Whenever she is with this man, she wants to press herself into him, to follow him into rooms of wood smoke, work, and weed, to lie down in the bed that holds his shape, to rest her cheek in the hollow above his heart. It's autumn. The wind picks up. The birch in the yard falls. He promises to come help cut and stack the tree. How good he will smell when the fire is lit, when twigs are cracking, when night has come. Aren't we all cold animals? Don't you need to be touched? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Tony Howarth's newest collection is A Hand to Hold. He is the editor for dramatic writing of the Westchester Review, is a playwright, director, and former journalist. His poetry, developed at the Hudson Valley Writers Center under the treasured guidance of Jennifer Franklin and Fred Marchant, has appeared in many magazines, among them Chronogram, Obsessed with Pipework, the Connecticut River Review, Raven's Perch, and the Grayson Press anthology, Forgotten Women. Please help me welcome Tony Howarth.
Is it okay to take this off? Yeah. Nice of me to ask permission, wasn't it? Can you hear me? Yes? We okay? I'll get back to the microphone. That makes a lot of difference, doesn't it? Okay. Well, I have to confess that I can do one of two things. There are three dramas in verse in this book, and I can read the beginnings of each one of them, or I can read one of them all the way through. I'll go whichever way you would prefer. What you want? You want the whole thing? Well, I'm not going to fight you. Okay. It goes a little bit beyond my allotted time limit, but I just got permission to ignore that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and coming here on this. Oh, it's just wonderful. I begin this with a little bit of historical note. The history books tell of a teenage girl, Anne Burns, who arrived in October 1608 on a supply ship, the Mary and Margaret, who then married a laborer, John Layton, later giving birth to 4 daughters. But a television documentary detailed an archaeological dig which unearthed in what was a kitchen midden the skull of a 14-year-old girl scarred with knife scratches which suggested cannibalism. Folklore has yet another story to tell, whispered by a tour guide at the Jamestown reconstruction, a tale that made me tremble to imagine how dehumanizing it can be to struggle for survival in a landscape presided over by someone like John Smith. This is 1608, not current. So I am waiting. Anyone defying John Smith, watch out, he'll narrow his eyes. A flash of flame inside. I want to slug him in the face of his, dump him in the river, shove his head under, choke him. The bugger. She's what, 14, 15? He straps her into the stocks, feed her to his revved up mob. Waiting. Old, drasty. Minute that I arrived here, that's what they called me. Put me in my place, bottom of the nobody list. Bugger wanted me sent back right away, gray hair and droopy shoulders. Out of his line of sight. Put me in the same saw pit. Underneath the logs we shape into battlements, breathing sawdust all day long. Put me in the breathing sawdust all day long. Bastard. His mob, like the barking dogs, ragging a squirrel. It's unforgivable. She with her hands locked in the boards. They shower kitchen waste on her, bones that lodge in her hair. Their fingers sketch beneath her skirt, badger her breasts. Nothing she can do but shriek and weep. I am nobody, old, drasty, a nobody waiting to help her somehow. He'll tear me to shreds, I know. Even so, I must. Night. The moon beaming down on us. Men gone to their cots. Sentry lost in the shadows. I slash my axe against the ropes 3 times, 4. I pry the stocks open, hold her hand. She howls. I flatten her arm against her mouth. She bites. She kicks me away, foots it like a frantic rabbit into the forest. My twisted foot. I stumble behind. She plunges through the grasping undergrowth, squashing it. Splintered branches left dangling. I reach out my hand to stop her. Don't you, she yells. Whacks, and she whacks me. Face to face, she scoops a handful of dirt, chucks it bang in my eyes. Not to look at me like that, like all the others. I tell her, no, I'm looking at someone young in dreadful danger. Rush on your feet into the shrubbery. Leave a giveaway path. They'll track you down, hold you back. She screams at me, never, not going, no, never. Poaching on bluebud estates back home. I've learned how to survive in the woods. Footprints soft and silent. Lift the branches, lift the feet. Walk in the night of dark of night. Sleep during the day. Another danger. Powhatan hunters in the forest. Got knives and arrows out for blood. Perhaps Jamestown is safer? Oh, she pummels my chest, spitfly. Never, never. What says she wants to meet the Powhatans. Ask them to take her to one of their own. Namontack. They spent time together on the Mary Margaret. He smiled at her, talked to her in English. Who knows why he was taken to London, why he was tied to the masts on the way back. She says everyone snubbed her, but he laughed, charmed with her. She shared the food she was given, brought him a blanket. As we walk in the silence of darkness, a stranger to this wilderness, I hear a familiar voice, an owl hooting. as if I'm walking in the woods back home. Mournful, sad, now by ourselves in the endless forest. I don't know what I'm doing. Wasn't it right? Wasn't it what I did? Take her away from Bugger's clothes. I hear the singing of a brook. Should I maybe suggest we follow it? Keep the water by our side, so if we stray, we'll shut our way confusion, always a place to come back to. We find a spot to settle in daylight, hack branches and shrubs with the axe I carry in my satchel, build a leaning shelter, watch her wriggle inside, give her my coat to wrap herself, stretch myself out on a bed of weeds, hidden beneath a blanket of branches. Her sobbing wakes me. I want her silent. I beg her to be calm. John Smith for certain has soldiers out looking. With the brook singing past, she weeps me her helpless, what could have been. 6 of them, 5 sisters and a brother, often clustered in front of the fire. Love to sit warm and weave cats' cradles. Love the songs that mother might has taught them. For all the day long, owl sits in a tree, and when the night comes, away flies she. When her mother died sudden in her bed, the sisters were bargained off by their father, scullery maids, farmhouse helpers. Brother ran away, not to be seen again. She shares her story, and I'm here to listen. I don't know what to think. Unaccustomed people don't tell me their stories. She's calm at last. I give her a twinkle of bread stashed in my satchel for hungry moments. Watch her crumple it, stuff it in her mouth, tell her how my body has been battered for years, maybe 50. It could be more. I do it ever by hiding invisible. As with Bugger Smith, out looking for us, we hide by night, sleep by day. Something I've not ever done. Daring to share. Nose, jolly red nose, and who gave you that jolly red nose? So sotted drunk, I passed out sleeping on the street. A ship's crew carousing past. For a lark, they pick me up, dump me on board, wake me next morning surrounded by ocean. For a moment, old Rusty, I have her smiling. She scrambles back inside her shelter. I'm felt left wishing I had a fire to my feet, staring into the flames and pondering how she astonishes. When we work, I feel her on my heels, begging me to pick up speed, desperate to escape her blistering memories. As when the Mary Margaret pulled into the dock with her on the deck for all to see, stood beside the man and wife she was bargained to. Because a child born in Jamestown will bring him fame in London, Bugger Smith thinks only of himself, staggered her away to raffle her off as a wife. The blacksmith one rushed to the church, asked a priest to bless their union, lugged her to his smithy, threw her on the ground to have her. Everyone listening and sipping spit, he snarling, she shrieking. But the child fought him off wriggled free, left him fuming. Yeah, the priest in a sermon condemned her. 'Tis sacred duty, a wife must bear a child. Priest and bugger, godly righteous, strapped her into the stocks. More Jesus than they will ever be. I hate priest, worse than I hate bugger. Remember how in a church at home I sheltered for the night, hidden in the undercroft, and the cleaners came to clean, smashed all the stained glass windows, trampled, toppled the statues, everything but a small crucifix hanging on the wall. I took him for myself, talked to him like I'm talking now. But priest caught me, stomped on him, like putting out a fire. My companion, my treasure, called me heathen, sat me in the stocks for praying to an idol. As we walk, half the night gone, under a full moon, we come to where the brook spills over a ledge, gurgles into a pond, a place for the water to rest on its way to the river and sea. The bushes all around look like blackberry. We pick and choke down handfuls, tumble flat along the edge of the pool, drink, laughing, drench our faces. Far enough away from Bugger Town, I feel safe settling in the open, sleep with nothing above our heads but sky. Then, during the night, I hear rocks rattling, splashing noises. See her sitting in the pond, washing her hair. Next morning, gone. I wipe my tears, take the risk and call out for her. Hello! I've never walked a path with someone else. Is she following the brook? I can only hope. She'll not return to Buggertown. If straight into the endless forest, she'll be lost, one tree like every other. Hello! She knows what she wants, no matter what. Gone to find it. I'll wait here. If she finds him, Namontauk, if the Powhatans are kind to her, if he welcomes her. But if not, she'll remember the pond. The brook will guide her where I'll be waiting. If I go back to Buggertown, he'll hang me. Waiting by our pond, our waterfall, our brook. It's song well sung, the brook, so comforting. First, old Drasty, make a shelter. Plenty of branches for wattles, plenty of mud from the pool to daub between them. A place for when it rains, for when it turns cold. For her to come back to. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Kevin Sterne is the author of the story collection All Must Go, as well as the chapbooks You Can't Sell This, From Your Jerry, and I've Done Worse. In 2020, Kevin won the Phoebe Journal Prize for Fiction. Kevin is a founding member of the Test Artist Collective, former host of the Test Literary Series at the Whistler, and former editor-in-chief of Funny Looking Dog Quarterly. Please help me welcome Kevin Sterne.
Yo. Can everyone hear me? Good, everyone on Zoom? Sweet. I'm gonna read a bunch of stuff. So if you don't like something, it'll be over pretty soon. This is from my book. It's called From Your Jerry. Jerry writes letters to his dead mother. He ties them to balloons and lets them float up, up, up. They land in backyards. They land in swimming pools. They land in forests never to be found. They fall from the sky onto freeways and freak out motorists. One reads, "Dear Mom, hope you're doing okay. Have you found a good bar to frequent? Do they have darts? From your Jerry." Jerry befriends the clown in the park who sells him helium-filled balloons. He and Jerry take turns wrapping their mouths around the release valve and inhaling until their eyes roll back into their heads. "She never replies," Jerry says in a high-pitched voice. "If she did, what do you think she'd say?" asks the clown. And Jerry says, "Probably nothing." They sit on the bench by the fountain and share a bottle of whiskey while watching Jerry's letters travel into the jet stream. They watch them float on until they can't watch them anymore. "This one is more of an apology," Jerry tells the clown. "Dear Mom, sorry about that time I borrowed the car for my date and forgot to pick you up from work. From your Jerry." She'd walked all the way home from the Waffle House in a rainstorm to find Jerry and his date butt naked on the sofa. Jerry ties the apology letter to a big red balloon. "My mom kept saying, 'You seem like a very nice girl. You're more than welcome here anytime. I'd love for you and I to sit down and get to know each other.' You should send her a gift," the clown says in a high-pitched voice. "What's an apology without a gift?" They watch it sail into the blue. Jerry buys a carton of Marlboro cigarettes and ties it to 4 balloons. It ascends to the heavens. Then he ties 5 balloons to his mom's favorite coffee mug and watches it sail on. Inside is a note that reads, "Dear Mom, sorry I missed your birthday because I was huffing drugs behind the water treatment plant. Hope this mug cheers you up. From your Jerry." He and the clown string 19 balloons together to raise a 6er of beer skyward. "Dear Mom, sorry I asked about Dad so much. From your Jerry." They land in parking lots. They settle on power lines. They descend upon an outdoor seating area of a fancy Italian restaurant. "Dear Mom, are you proud of me? From your Jerry." Jerry asks the clown if he wants to write one. "I never had a mother," the clown tells him. He writes something anyway. "Dear Jerry's mom, I love you like my own mother. From your clown." Jerry empties his dead mom's house item by item. He and the clown send a Mr. Coffee Maker into the clouds. Her collection of CDs, her pink bathrobe, her clock radio, her collapsible TV trays, the electric mixer, and a set of salt and pepper shakers shaped like chickens. They spend an entire day tying 340 balloons to a love seat. They take pulls from the whiskey bottle and watch Jerry's mom's possessions fill the sky. "Dear Mom, hope you're not lonely. I'm sending you some of your favorite things. From your Jerry." The clown tells Jerry he wants to go too, so Jerry ties balloon after balloon to him until he finally lifts to the heavens. "No one knows where these things will land. All must go," Jerry says, waving goodbye to the clown. "Up, up, up." I get parched. Okay, this is one I did carpentry in Chicago. It doesn't have a title. "We think the designer doesn't know that a 2x4 isn't a 2x4 or a 2x2. We measure and measure, but it's not us, so it must be the designer. They must be fooled by the simplicity of names. If you don't know, you don't know. And I know that I didn't know before I knew. But that still doesn't make me feel better about walking into the office and saying, 'Hey boss, take a 1/2 inch off the 2 and the 4, shave it off the top.' In this economy, For 2 days, my friends and I have argued over whether a hamburger is a sandwich. I say no, and this fits me in the minority. I stand my ground, even if over the course of the argument, I realize that I am wrong. This is my identity. My partner says I'm stubborn. I have the spirit of an old man, but not a creepy old man. An old man who has chickens and fights off raccoons. I do imagine what life would be like if I went around interviewing people about hamburgers and sandwiches. I daydream of learning not just where they fall on the debate and the details of their rationale, but also their untold stories, the real Americana of these people and the minutia of their lives. And I imagine the more I do this, the more I'll see myself in these people. I'm talking about real empathy, the stuff worth packing in a letter. I should mention I wrote to my dead friend, tied it to balloons and let it float on and on and on, and he replied in screws. I'd find them in cup holders, under the toilet seat, in the silverware drawer. They were always different. A drywall screw, a rusty finishing screw, one of those tiny ones from a TV remote. I started drilling them into things. It makes sense to me. We don't have enough hardware because the lumber numbers are wrong. And every time I go into boss's office, he's working on engine parts for a lawnmower and we're not a landscaping company. I imagine he's talking to someone through his ghost engine and the gear wheel zip of his ratchet. He works with his hands over and over and over. So I got stuff over there for sale. This is a zine I did, and this is about my hometown in Illinois. It's called There's Nothing Tall in Illinois. That spruce tree in Frankfurt, that obelisk of timber like a NASA rocket, that cousin it dressed in blue, singing Dole Aqua, no leaves, just needles that won't cut you, needles just pining old blue, tallest on the block. Tallest until it fell in the '94 tornado. Grandma watched it out the kitchen window, shaking, bending, almost breaking until it did. Whipping in the wind like witches in winter. The sky was purple and the sun was gray and the birds hid in the window wells. They say the tallest tree gave in because it had more to give. The royal we is a silent we on a payphone, calling home, calling grandma in the basement, calling grandpa at the bar. That summer, grandpa trimmed that tree because it poked the house, gave it some shape and upset grandma all at once. She stayed silent 4 days and turned on the TV she never watched. The home shopping channel sold over-ear headphones, plastic bags to cook a turkey in, and a chair to align the back. She bought it all just to spite him. They brought you over, all 5 years of you, because a child can ease tensions. You kissed grandma on the lips because you didn't know what a grandma kiss was, and she had onion soup for lunch. Tornado touched down on Plainfield High School, ripped it apart. 2 towns over, 8 traffic lights, 2 Dunkin' Donuts, 9 banks, the old Les Brothers in front of the Kmart, water treatment plant. Small towns only small to the uninitiated. 9 times 10 plus 4. In the middle of it all, a construction crew moved a boulder by truck bed across the county. Remnant of the Wisconsin glacier, as big as 2 bodies curled around each other, belly to belly, hip bone to blood, and blood to dirt. In the middle of it all, the Caterpillar truck, driven by a boy, barely a man, with baseball aspirations and practical needs suited for driving a truck or digging holes at the cemetery between games of independent ball, day cash, meal money. Slapped a plaque on that rock and placed it at the entrance of a forest with a 4-car parking lot. Named it after the French, Joliet. In the middle of it all, the tallest spruce split from the roots and surrendered across the lawn. Tip touched the street. All the streets are named after trees. Hickory, ash, walnut, chestnut, sycamore, larch, no spruce. They carved it up with a chainsaw and grandma cried. They brought you over to ease sadness and you hugged her but gave no kiss. You played in the creek with grocery bags over your feet. They left the stump as memorial. Grandma died, then Grandpa died. House sold. Chair garage sailed off. That ball player bought it for his slip disc, and later on he killed himself. Everyone's buried on the same row in Pleasant View Cemetery. You visit and stand before them and imagine a golden glow like love growing inside you, growing and filling you up and spilling down your legs into the ground where it kisses the dead. You're a payphone. You're trying to understand that you'll never understand your place in all this. You're writing down everything for your dementia days. In your head, you swing a bat at everything you don't understand. You look out at a horizon that only ends with a curving earth. Think about that tree. All the history seized in needles, all the rhymes ringing in the dead, screws and holes with no end, just turning and turning and tightening nothing. They rebuilt that school. They closed that Kmart. That ball player is still swinging that bat somewhere. That rock is still there. Thank you. All right, now I got some poems. These are kind of goofy. This one's called How to Have a Healthy Ego. Draw your emotions as if they are a mighty dragon. Imagine you're a knight slaying that dragon. Imagine you are dead. Imagine you are your dad. Now imagine you are no longer your dad. Doesn't that feel better? Imagine you've won American Idol for singing Donna's parts and playing in the band. Now stop imagining. Think of your birth, the Great Awakening. What a time. Remember who loves you, even if it hurts. If no one loves you, sit on the bench at the bus stop until love arrives. I'm talking real love, baby. Awooga. Keep sitting at that bus stop. Try not to get hungry for toast. Toast will only disappoint you. All right, this one is called How to Handle Rejection in its Most Intimate Forms. Human connection is overrated. You only need one ticket to ride a roller coaster. Have dinner in the bathtub. Think, it could always be worse. I could be a lizard. I could die and become a horse and forget all about being me. So I should support me, the me that I am. Me. I should climb a tree. I should cry in the shower. Cry help to the birds. Call mom. If your mom has passed, pretend to call her in the grave. Visit your mom in the cemetery. Caress her tombstone and say, "Hi, Mom, it's been a while." Listen to the silence. Listen to the wind. Read Call of the Wild. Watch Dances with Wolves. Become a man. Return to your roots. Brush your damn teeth. All right, this is my last one. It's called How to Cure a Hangover. Look yourself in the mirror and say deep down, my life has been a series of regrettable errors. Say, I'm too old to change, but not too old to wonder, what if? Understand that milk is not a substitute for joy or even a good time. Say, Big Dairy has had a stronghold on my life for too long. Break free from its milky grip. Find purpose, find a purse. Find a dolphin in the ocean, empty the purse into the ocean. Say, orca, orca, orca. Launch into a love song. Remember all the loneliness of childhood. Obtain crayons. Markers will do. Draw your regrets as pictures on the walls of your apartment. Paint a mural of an exploding volcano. Draw panicked vacationers running away from their problems. Write your landlord a check. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Kathleen Williamson was the runner-up in the Slab Poetry Contest and was a winner in the Poetry in the Pavement project in Sleepy Hollow, New York. Her work has been published in Poetry International Online Quarterly, Newton Literary, Ponder Review, as well as other literary journals. She's on the board of Sawmill River Audubon and Films on Purpose and lives in Pleasantville, New York. Please help me welcome Kathleen Williamson.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, and hello to the people on Zoom. Can you hear me? Put this up a little. There we go. Okay. It gives me such pleasure to be reading from my just published chapbook, Feather and Bone. This is the first room where I wrote poetry, honestly, where I really read poetry. Thanks to Jennifer's, Franklin's, deep knowledge of poetry and her boundless enthusiasm, I loved it from the start. Thanks to my classmates, several of them here tonight, I learned how happy I was to be in a room of people who love debating whether a comma should be put in or taken out. I'd found my peeps. Thank you. Mary Oliver said that every poem should have a bird in it. I haven't followed that directive to the letter, but I've come darn close. Here are a few. This was from a visit I did to Nebraska. Hollow boned. Even the trudge through mud, sucking at our souls, single file in the pre-dawn downpour, makes me happy. At a stop in the line in this perfect darkness, we bump into each other, then grope our way into the bird blind. We've been told to stay silent, but when black fades to charcoal, Christine whispers that the smudge on the ice is the cranes. We've heard them all along, of course, waking up. They're croaking a raucous purring. The sky brightens to silver, and I can see a red crown on the slender head of each bustled gray body. I wish they would dance, but they are crowded on this melting patch of ice. There is less ice this year than last, which was less than the year before. They are hungry to fly to the stubble in the cornfields. I can hear it in their voices. For those who don't want to travel all the way to Nebraska to see birds, you can just go out to Long Island or right here. This one is called Roost. Make the time sometime to journey to the refuge at Jamaica Bay. Park your car and cross the drag-raced boulevard. Climb over a blown tire and crunch through broken glass. Follow the trampled path until the air grows closer and mosquitoes sing in your ear. Go still, go further. Choose a blind on a swampy puddle. See the tree slung low, brimming with feathered bronze. Remember their scarlet cousins flying by the thousands to roost on Mangroved Island. Watch the crescent moon slip into the bay. Worship like an ancient Egyptian. Bury them with your dead. And for those maybe who prefer more of a nightlife than a birding life, there's a poem called Nocturnal. I am led right to him by the mob, dive bombing the hemlock. Their frantic, throaty caws recruit blue jays and more crows. The cold river of their hatred roils. After a night of cutting up his victims, the owl opens one long lashed yellow eye, lazily closes it, opens the other, unruffled. His talons grip the swaying branch at the very center of the tree. No other raptor holds me captive like this. I arrive in day and stay alone in the darkening wood. By the time the owl calls, no light lingers here. I'm too afraid to cross the field to my car. Coyotes and the men who live in nearby trailers may intrude upon my path. I kneel beneath the tree, find trophies the owl has dropped from his throat, thumb-sized, bone-filled. Thanks. So you might be all real tired of the birds by now, so I'll bring in another creature or two. Solitary migration for Bridget. Long before sunrise, she is on her bike, her legs like pistons on the old post road. She sought solitude, but now she feels it in her throat. Tears blur her path. To rally, she sings in the dark, an old song about surrender. Out of the woods, as if summoned by her song, bounds an 8-point buck. He gallops beside her. Clipped to her bike, she pedals faster. The buck keeps pace. She never thinks to stop. Her voice is silenced, the only sound the clatter of hooves on pavement. Her breath beats time with his. She smells his musty mushroom scent, feels the heat of his body, sees her reflection in his black eye. This one's murmuration. I'm waist deep in the dark green water, my back to the high-rised and birdless shore, training my eye on the horizon, hoping for a pelican. And the next wave is a silver wall of fish swimming at me. I dig my feet into the sand, steady myself for the brunt of fish, brace myself for their blunt noses. I can see each round eye, blank and unwavering. But just as I'm about to be hit, the school splits and goes around, seals itself seamlessly together behind me. I'm enveloped in fish for an hour. Reach out my hand, my foot to touch their energy. It would be like touching a star, but they always evade me. The ocean draws the warmth from my bones, but I'll stay here within the thumping heart of it all. The next few poems are more personal. I'm grateful that poetry and birds have helped me through some hard times. This first one is called Coo, C-O-O, Coo. I have been told to mirror your feelings, but how can I reflect your anger and despair? Like lightning, they will scorch you and the earth beneath your feet. I want to offer you the softness of my breast, carry your sorrow on my back, so you can wander fields of poppies, sleep when you are weary. When the rain comes, let me absorb every drop. Brood. My first worry when I wake is of you, as is my last. It is only by the sea, trying and trying to distinguish sanderling from sandpiper, or in the woods, listening to the white-throated sparrow's 5-note song, pleading and pleading. It is only then that you and I can disappear. I live for long moments, not consumed by us. Nestling. From the moment you jumped from the cavity of the tree, feather-light and bouncing, you followed me. I thought you precocial, born with open eyes, able to run and feed yourself at once. Little sparrow, I was wrong. You were born altricial. You need the warmth of all my brooding. Thank you. And I have one final poem. It's not part of the collection. It is about my mother and what poetry meant to the two of us during her final years. We lost her this summer. Reading Seamus Heaney to my mother. And those of you who are unfamiliar with Heaney, he is the Nobel-winning Irish poet who wrote so much about rural Ireland, and he's my favorite poet. Reading Seamus Heaney to my mother. After the dishes are done, I position myself at the foot of your bed, and I read. You know a language not mine, of haws and slows, flax dams and potato drills, red flower of the rowan tree. And we fly together to your childhood on a farm in Ireland. You'll recite Yeats, and we are in a bee-loud glade, and the evening is full of the linnet's wings. On bad days, when poetry is of no use, I offer you gifts of your pre-literal life, sweet flesh of a just-picked blackberry, cool hardness of a potato in your palm. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kathleen. Our final writer reading for us tonight is Jeannie Zusy. Jeannie has written several full-length plays, screenplays, short stories, and works of fiction. Her work has been performed off-Broadway and beyond and appeared in McSweeney's. Her first novel is The Frederick Sisters Are Living the Dream. Please help me welcome Jeannie Zusy.
Hello, it's so nice to be back here. I'm so grateful for Hudson Valley Writers Center and for various wonderful teachers I've had here, including Kirsten Backus, who I worked with on this novel. I don't know if she's here, and all of the wonderful writers that I have worked with. It's been wonderful. So this is my novel was published in September. It's called The Frederick Sisters Are Living the Dream. And I'm going to start at the beginning. By the way, it's dedicated to my brother, Davy, and all who care. It's a novel. Part 1, Ginny's Castle. We're going against Ginny's wishes. We're going against our big sister Betsy's wishes. And for the record, we're going against my wishes too. Here we are, Ginny and me, going east on the Beltway toward I-95. I'm taking her away from her small house in the small town where we all grew up in Maryland, and I'm bringing her to be near me in my small town north of New York City. I'm driving her SUV. She's in the passenger seat, and on her lap sits her baby doll, Binky Baby. Behind me on the back seat and facing Ginny is her beloved old pup, Rascal. Those two have been looking into each other's eyes since we left rehab for the stars. I call it that because of all the rehabilitation centers on the hospital's list, it was the highest rated. In the trunk is my small bag, 3 larger Ginny bags, her TV, Rascal's bed, and on top of all that, Ginny's brand new wheelchair. It'll be like summer camp, I said to her last week. You always wanted to go to summer camp, and now you finally get to go. It's April, but I've been trying to present that it's temporary and might even be fun. Not over my dead body will I go to New York, said she, her usual flat delivery. It was a difficult conversation, and ultimately I heard myself say, well, whether you want to or not, your not dead body is going to New York. That's right, she's not dead. If you had asked me 4 weeks ago if she was going to die, I would have said sadly and definitely yes. If you had asked me 4 weeks and 1 day ago if she was going to die, I would have said, no way. Ginny just retired from her high school janitor job and she's easing into a long and relaxing retirement. How do I know it was 4 weeks ago? Because 4 weeks ago was the official high school full team support meeting for my younger son, Leo. And tomorrow is the 1 month follow-up full team support meeting. The guy struggles academically. Yes, that's 4 weeks of trying to manage this Ginny long distance, 4 weeks of juggling and turning down freelance jobs, 4 weeks of diminishing income. Gin, I say, it's going to be great. Rascal and her cousins will finally get to meet. You can come to our house for barbecues. The boys are so excited you're coming, and my friends will finally get to meet the legend. They think you're my imaginary friend, you know. I don't have many friends right now. Not since the separation. Really, I just have the one friend, and that's Teresa next door. Everyone else dumped me because they assumed that I dumped Bill. Tomorrow night marks 1 year since the last time I had sex. Oops, it wasn't with Bill, but I swear I didn't dump him. And Teresa is going to perform some sort of ceremony involving her new fire pit to honor this, to honor my future not lonely libido or something. I can bring Rascal to visit you and we can go on drives and maybe, well, you know, our town has its own little watering hole. Maybe we can go swimming together. When was the last time you went swimming? Wouldn't that be fun, Ginny? Like in the olden days when we used to go to the pool together and the beach with Mom and Dad and Bets and, of course, Malibu. Ginny isn't listening. She turns herself away from Rascal to face front. Not easy for a gal of her size. She's not talking to me. She's ignoring me. Click, click. I glance over to see that she's playing with her door lock. Click, click, click. My sister, Ginny. She's a large, purple-clad woman with badly bleached blonde hair. Right now, it's clean and combed thanks to the rehab. Her t-shirt has sparkles and says, "Life's a beach." Her fanny pack is pink and sparkly. Her pink boots are sparkly too. Her face usually wears something that might be mistaken for a scowl, though it's really just concentrating. Right now, I imagine she's considering her escape plan. She's got intellectual disabilities. She reads and writes at a 3rd grade level. Sometimes she says her brain takes a day off. She's got type 2 diabetes and a lust for sugar, which is a dangerous combination and an ongoing challenge. Still, she's managed to live independently for almost 20 years in a small house that our parents bought for her just 5 minutes from their own. Our dad died 5 years ago. Our mom followed a year later. And since then, Jeannie has continued to manage and even take care of Rascal. Rascal is an old, fat, rectangular block of a dog with short sticks for legs. She's black and thick, and even her fur feels fat, oily fat. She is Jeannie's best friend, mother, child, and bodyguard. Seriously, she has an aggressive streak. And now I'm recalling the phone conversation we had 4 weeks and 1 day ago, just one of our daily check-ins in which she told me she was living the dream, riding the waves. I asked her if she was still taking her pills, walking Rascal. She told me she was an independent woman and to stop being a worrywart. We're listening to the Beach Boys because they are Jeannie's favorite, and I wanted to put her in a sister road trip, summer of Beachy Boys kind of mood. Well, East Coast girls are hip. I really dig those styles they wear. She's already asked me to turn the volume up twice, and we only just hit the road. She's into surf culture, even though she's only been on a board once and she almost drowned on that occasion. Our biggest sister, Betsy, now Bets, turned her on to it. Bets just launched Moon Boards, her very own brand of boards, and runs a surfing school in Venice Beach, California. I wish they all could be California. And I, Maggie, live in a small Hudson River town, just an hour north of New York City. I'm a freshly separated from her husband woman, still living in the house where we raised our sons. I raised our sons. Graham is in college now, but Leo is still there with me, which is why I get to keep the house. I make a living drawing storyboards for TV commercials. These days, it's mostly pharmaceuticals, power drinks. I'm bringing Jeannie to Sunnyside Nursing Home and Rehabilitation Center, which is in Ossining, just 15 minutes south of my house. She'll be there until they get that fucking open wound to heal, until she can walk again, until she gets her mojo back. By then, I'll have had a ramp installed at her place, and she and Rascal will be able to go back home. Sunnyside, I say cheerfully. Is that a nice name? I checked out 4 places, and it was the nicest. Plus, you get your own room. They're gooey. What is? What's gooey, Jeannie? Sunny side up. Well, if you flip them over and stick a knife in the yolk, it spreads and it's not gooey. I know that because Graham hates his eggs gooey. Click, click, click. I'm going to California very soon, Jeannie says. Oh, yeah, I say. Beth says. Huh, I say. Beth hasn't mentioned this plan to me. We haven't spoken since last week when I told her that against her advice, I was bringing up Jeannie up north. Now Bets is not returning my texts. Just let the girl go home, she laughed. Let life do what life does. You mean death? I thought. I tried to explain to her what poor shape Jin is in. She can't walk, I said, which means she can't drive, can't live independently. If you could just fly out, you'd see. Really wish I could. Got a lot going on, our older sister said to me. But hey, she said, and not unkindly, you do you. Huh? So I'm going to read another section, which is after Jeannie has been living in the nursing home for a few months, longer than anticipated because things aren't healing and she's refusing to walk. She has threatened to commit suicide if she has to continue staying there. So they put her on suicide watch. And Maggie has just returned from putting out fires at the nursing home, and she's back to her job drawing pictures. And so now she's just taking in what just happened. Okay. I had such high hopes. I had such vision. I believed that I could brighten up Jeannie's dark life. I believed that I could open up her small world. I saw her losing weight and rocking her PT and really getting her mojo back. actually getting mojo that she never had before. What is mojo? I don't know, but I know it's good and it's something that I wish for both of us. Did I say both of us? Well, yes, it's true. I envisioned that we'd be known as those crazy two. We'd make a name for ourselves as the Frederick sisters. People at the local coffee shop and ice cream shop and all along our little main street would see us and they'd say, look who's coming. I envisioned that I would give my sister a makeover, keeping her individual style, her sparkly purple and pink palette, her surfing vibe, while shining up her unique individual essence. I could give a makeover worthy of any queer eye. She would learn to comb her hair and would do it several times a day, or she would let me do it, or one of the Sunnyside staff. We'd all say, Jeannie, what lovely locks you have. I envisioned that in the process, I too would become more fully myself. A sexy, styling, middle-aged babe with maximum appeal and minimal makeup. People would see me for who I truly am, a bright, loving, devoted, patient to the point of saint-like woman. Oh, I'd say modestly, but saints are so boring. And they'd laugh and say, you, Maggie, are a fascinating saint. They would realize that I'm not the cold-hearted bitch that cheated on her husband, who kind of kicked him out of the house, who atom bombed her family of 4. Jeannie and I would both start dating. I'd get her involved in a social group for adults with special needs. I'd meet a brother of one of those adults and he would fulfill my special needs. He'd be a nice guy. We'd go on double dates. We'd drive down Main Street in his convertible, laughing and singing, I wish they all could be Croton on Hudson girls. The boys would really like him, my new guy. They'd suddenly understand where their own father was lacking. Not as a father and a human being, he would still be a role model for them, but they'll see what he lacked from me. Bill would be supportive, likely humbled by my new matching, and this would inspire him to grow up, though not so much that I have regrets. Jeannie and her boyfriend and me and my boyfriend would probably take a double date trip to Disney World where we would ride It's a Small World 10 consecutive times because it would still be Jeannie's favorite. Well, that's not going to happen, I can hear Jeannie say. When I visit her tomorrow, I will listen to her complaints. I will tell her I'm sorry for the situation. I will try to imagine if she could live there the rest of her life. I will try to imagine if I could live with myself if she lived there the rest of her life. She will be angry. She will be belligerent and pale and childish. I will tell her that I love her, and she will not tell me that she loves me back. That's okay. She never does. She can't. I will love her even more because of that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, whether on Zoom or in person. Thank you, Jennifer Franklin, for co-hosting this event with me. And thank you to all of our incredible authors who read their work tonight. Please don't forget. You can purchase their work at bookshop.org, or they're on sale over there. And we have our next reading on December 14th, and we hope we can see you there. So thank you.